In this video, I'll be helping you with the ALEKS problem type called converting degrees to radians and radians to degrees, problem type 2. Here we're asked to do conversions in two directions. In part A, we're going from degrees to radians, and in part B, from radians to degrees. And for both conversions, we'll need a conversion factor. And for both, I think it's helpful to think back to our unit circle. So a circle that is centered at the origin and has a radius of 1. And starting at the positive x-axis, when we think of degrees, we know that a quarter of the way around is 90 degrees and halfway around is 180 degrees. And then for radians, since this is a unit circle, radians can be thought of as the circumference of that unit circle, how far around the circumference you've gone. And circumference is 2 pi r. Since it's a unit circle, our r is 1. So the full circumference is 2 pi, and that would be going one time around the circle. Going halfway around the circle then would just be pi. And this is our conversion factor that we can use. 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. And so therefore, for our first example, 19.32 degrees, we can multiply by our conversion factor. We want to cancel degrees and end up with radians. So I'll put the 180 degrees in the denominator, and then pi, I'll indicate the units here, radians, pi radians in the numerator. Since pi radians and 180 degrees are the same, we're essentially multiplying by 1. And our numerator units of degrees and denominator units of degrees will cancel. Multiplying, we have 1932 times pi in the numerator, 180 in the denominator. Our units are now radians. And since ALEKS is expressing radians without the pi, I'll go ahead and do all of this multiplication and division in a calculator, while rounding to the nearest hundredth, we would have 0.34 radians. So this would be the conversion for part A. For part B, we're going in the other direction. So for B, we're starting with negative 1.6 radians. We're converting to degrees, so we need to cancel the radians. I'll use this same conversion factor, but this time I'll put the radians in the denominator so that they'll be able to cancel, and the degrees in the numerator. This cancels the radians and gives us a numerator of negative 1.6 times 180 degrees divided by pi. Doing this multiplication and then dividing by pi, our units will still be degrees, but this multiplication and division, again rounded to the nearest hundredth, we would still have a negative, and the calculation comes out to 91.67 when rounded to the nearest hundredth place. So this would be our second conversion in degrees.